Morning, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I'm Sean. Just wanted to welcome you back to the channel. Obviously, we wanted to dive back in this morning with a bit of a news roundup regarding Manchester United. Just to touch upon, the latest stories, any sort of developments, breaking news, rumors, transfer links. As they break each day. It's a good way to start the day. I know I'm probably a little behind a lot of the other content creators that you follow. That is because I am based in the US, so we are a few hours behind, but that's all right. No harm, no foul. Before we get started, just please go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let me know what you think of the microphone. Is it a little better quality sound than just using the laptop? I've been having a little difficulty finding microphones that I like. I've tried like the big swing arm one. That one didn't work out so well. I had another little snowball one that was all right. And then obviously I had another clip on. That one didn't work. So I tested this one out. It sounds a little better. So hopefully that it would sound better on your end. Let me know in the comments below. Let's get started. So first things first, according to 442.com, you guys remember 442, the magazine? I used to work at a Barnes & Noble. It's a bookstore for all you who may not be familiar with what the bookstores are. Not because I think you're illiterate, but because they just don't really exist anymore, right? I used to swing by and just on my break and read 442 while I was there. But 442.com, the website now, is reporting that Sir Jim has put Marcus Rashford up for sale. I think it's similar, if true, it's probably similar to like the McTominay or the Harry Maguire, where no, it's not like we were desperate to sell him, but if an offer came in of a certain amount, we would probably go for it. And that offer is reportedly £100 million, according to 442.com. So allegedly, reportedly, Sir Jim has made Rashford available for £100 million if an offer comes in. So it'll be interesting to see. I know we talked yesterday, PSG maybe cooled their interest. We know that they've had a long-standing interest and they might be in need of a forward. I don't know if PSG want to spend that much, but we'll see. In other news, youngster Shea Lacey has actually just signed his first professional contract with United. Remember, we spoke about that yesterday, that it was probably going to happen this week. Lacey did turn 17 on the weekend, and so everybody was pretty much speculating that he would be signing that contract, and he did. And Lacey himself said on Instagram, it's a proud moment for me and my family, signing my first professional contract at this club. So good little attacker, good left foot, and looks really good. I'm excited to see, if he can break into the first team over the next couple seasons. And I think the future does look bright, as we've said before. I think as far as manager news is concerned, there's a couple little tidbits. Dutch journalist Mike Verwij, if I'm pronouncing that right, has claimed that Ajax will look to bring Erik Ten Hag back to the Johan Cruyff Arena this summer if he is sacked by United. It's interesting. I think Ajax could do with a little stability. We spoke a little bit the other day regarding transfers. I spoke about maybe a swap deal involving Donny van de Beek and Chuba Akpom, their striker. And there's swap deals don't happen often, but the point of that was Ajax in this chaotic few seasons that they've had since Ten Hag left, Ajax could use a bit of that familiarity, a little bit of that stability, and I think someone like Van de Beek, or in this case Ten Hag, could help. I don't know if Ten Hag would want to go back to Ajax. I think that Ten Hag is very confident in his philosophy, is very confident in his abilities as a manager, and I think that he would want to always be moving forward. Even if, it wasn't at United, I think Ten Hag could easily walk into a club like Dortmund, like Bayern. I think he could very easily walk into Barcelona right now. They have a lot of young players on the up. Perfect for a manager like Ten Hag to mold. He's coming to United. There's a lot of older players who are a little bit set in their ways, a little bit entitled. And I think at Barcelona, Ten Hag can do a good job and clean things up if Xavi does end up leaving at the end of the season. In other managerial news, it seems like we can cross off Julian Nagelsmann, cross him off the list of potential candidates. I know a lot of you might be disappointed to hear that. if Erik Ten Hag is sacked. Sky Sports Germany are reporting that Bayern Munich are set for a reunion with Nagelsmann, and they see him as an ideal man for their rebuild. I don't know how true that is. I mean, he was there. He got the Bundesliga. Reportedly, he kind of fell out with some of the players and even some of the people upstairs in the boardroom, because they didn't like how much he kind of tinkered with things, how often he moved around with formations and tactics and lineups and team selection and things. I thought he was maybe just overcomplicating things. And as such, they moved him on, and now, of course, he's coaching the German national team. They have the Euros this summer. It would probably be a smoother transition for him to go back to Bayern than for him to come to Manchester United. Bayern obviously have a lot better structure than United. The manager at the moment is not as much involved with, talent identification and scouting and recruitment as they would have to be United to start, especially with all these moving parts and this rebuild happening behind the scenes at United, let alone on the pitch. So we'll see. I do think that if Erik Ten Hag were to be sacked, I think something like a Nagelsmann or an Amorim or even a Thiago Motta would be ideal. But again, the problem is how long do fans give the new manager? These are young managers. They bring new tactics, new ideas, which doesn't happen overnight in terms of getting the players to do that. And we tend to get impatient after a year and a half to 2 years as United fans. And so it's interesting to see. So Nagelsmann maybe going back to Bayern. We'll see how that develops. We got Graham Bailey reporting today that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not happy with United players right now, the situation in the dressing room, particularly with the leaks from the dressing room and social media issues. I think one of the issues that they're going to have, and one of the things we've seen Ten Hag try to do is change the culture at the club, and that starts in the dressing room. We spoke yesterday. If you haven't gone and watched that video, please go ahead and do that, about Ten Hag and some of the issues he had to deal with. And I think that he has come in and implemented a standard in an effort to raise the culture and the overall standards of the dressing room to better levels. And I think that Sir Jim, sounds like that's something that he's wanting to continue, regardless of whether Ten Hag is here next season or not. And so dressing room leaks we've seen have been an issue for years and years and years. It's not a Ten Hag problem. And the social media stuff has not been healthy. I blame social media more than I blame any one individual. But bit of transfer news. I was reading yesterday that United might be looking at snatching up 17-year-old Port Vale forward Bailey De Peppa. Port Vale are in a relegation battle right now, and they might need to sell players if they do get relegated. De Peppa has been a bright spark for them amidst their struggles this season, and he's exactly the kind of player that Sir Jim wants to sign. You remember he said he wants to make these stars. He wants to identify these young players and then develop them into stars, basically. And it seems like maybe De Peppa is a name on the list as far as that plan is concerned. And then for the last little bit of transfer news, potentially, Caught Offside is reporting, by citing a Portuguese outlet called Record, that United is ready to spend big to land Joao Neves of Benfica. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about Joao Neves a while back. I do really, really like Joao Neves. He reminds me a lot of Paul Scholes. I think he could be the answer to our Frankie de Jong issue that we've been chasing for a few years. He gets around the pitch. He's good on the ball. He can carry the ball, which I really like in a midfielder. He can pick a pass, which is awesome. And he puts in a shift defensively. What I really like about him is, he is that deep line kind of playmaker, that dictator of play in the build-up especially. He's able to drop deep, collect the ball when we're trying to build out from the back, and actually do something with it without just trying to hoof it forward or passing it back or side to side. He can actually do something with it. He would be very expensive. I do like him a lot. I don't know if I can see United spending that much on one individual player this summer. I think if we did end up spending that much on one player, it would be simply because Ineos and Sir Jim want to make a statement signing, basically to endear themselves to the fans, to lay down a marker, to really start their new era off on a really positive foot. And I think that that would be the best way to do it. Someone like a Joao Neves would be ideal in that regard. I think that we would still need a bit more physical presence in midfield, because while Neves and Menu can work a little deeper, they're both young and they're both, not the tallest, most physically imposing players in the world. So someone a little more physical, that's where, like a Rabiot or something would be useful as well. And something worth keeping an eye on. I do think Joao Neves will go. I think, the higher ups at Benfica have already kind of hinted at the fact that he will be probably leaving this summer. It'll be interesting to see, where he goes. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else would come in for him. PSG never shy away from buying a midfielder. It seems like kind of like City and center backs. PSG just buy a midfielder. It seems like every single season. They just bought Ugarte off Sporting. Who else? City maybe. But they have Rodri, and De Bruyne. Maybe in Newcastle, if Bruno Guimaraes is sold and the Tonali situation doesn't get resolved, I could see Newcastle maybe. But Newcastle also do maybe have to sell some players as well. They kind of started off their new ownership era strong with Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, Botman, those guys. It's kind of tapered off because, like everyone else, they have rich owners, but they still need to operate within financial fair play regulations. So we'll see. United do have a few players they can sell, and I think that in order to bring in someone like Joao Neves, we will have to make a sacrifice in the form of like a Scott McTominay, potentially even a Marcus Rashford, if that's the case. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting summer. It's going to be a very important summer, like I said. But we do have to finish up the season. We do have an FA Cup semifinal to prepare for this weekend. We do have 6 more matches left in the season. We do have a bit of a top 6 battle on our hands, or, a battle for a spot in Europe, whatever that looks like. Conference League, Europa League. I think Champions League is done now, unless Villa and Spurs have a catastrophic collapse and we just go on a tear for the last 6 matches. But even then, that's a maximum of 18 points. And I just don't see us doing that. Like I said the other day, I see us maybe getting another 7, maybe 8 points from the remaining matches of the season, which isn't even enough to catch up to, Spurs in 5th, let alone, get into Europe. So we'll see how it goes. That's the roundup for today. Don't forget to hit the like button on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Don't forget to go check me out on MUFC versus Everybody. And if you haven't yet, go watch the video I did yesterday on Erik Ten Hag and whether or not, he is in fact a bully like he's been labeled. I thought that was a really fun video to make. I think it was probably a bit eye-opening, maybe a bit of a reminder for a lot of people that some of the issues that he's been dealing with and some of the issues that he's caught criticism for are issues that United and these players have been dealing with for years before he arrived. So he just kind of inherited the mess and he's trying his best to deal with it. And I think that, just sometimes his personality just isn't the most charismatic, as it's been said. And I think that can sometimes be a bit misunderstood. And I think that a lot of people kind of force their agenda and their Ten Hag out into the situation instead of the other way around, where they kind of take things with a bit more open mind. But that's not me saying anyone is, right or wrong for being in or out. It's just me lending, again, a bit of balance, a bit of context to the situation, right? Context is key. So in any case, go back and check out the video. That's going to do it for me today. I might have time to pop on a little later on, depending on how the day goes and depending on, what sort of developments we see. But as always, do my best to keep you guys updated and to jump on and share my thoughts. So until then, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.